Hi friends, it's Gwen. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here to talk about all of the movies and TV shows that I have been watching recently. There's a lot. I usually try to do this when I have anywhere between 10 and 12 things to talk to you about, so it doesn't get too long, but here we are. I have a very long list. I have some notes. So basically I'm going to give you a little synopsis, tell you where I watched it, and then tell you whether I would skip it or watch it. Starting with the movies, the first one, Inside Out, watch this on Disney+. It's a few years old. It's about a young girl named Riley who gets uprooted from her Midwestern life. Her and her parents are moving to San Francisco, and she's dealing with a lot of emotions. And these emotions are animated. So you have joy, fear, anger, disgust, and sadness. And you see how her emotions play out as she is navigating a new city, her new home, her room, her friends, and school, and all of that. I would skip this one as an adult, but highly recommend it for children. I saw a couple of movies in the theater. I saw Black Phone in the theater, which was amazing. It was an amazing movie-going experience because I was in the theater by myself, and it was just wild. So this is based on a short story by Joe Hill, Stephen King's son, and it's about a child. Well, it's about this killer that abducts children, and in this movie he abducts a child and he is locked in a soundproof basement, and he starts receiving these phone calls from like a disconnected phone. And the phone calls that he's receiving are from the killer's previous victims, and they're trying to help him escape. I was on the edge of my seat. I loved this movie. Highly recommend watching it. I believe it's streaming now as well. I also saw Top Gun Maverick in the theater with my husband, and we actually saw that first, and then I went back and watched the original on Netflix. So let me just talk about them in order. So Top Gun on Netflix, they have students at this United States Navy elite fighter school, and they compete to be the best in class. They're trying to be the top gun. And then of course Tom Cruise is in this. It has like a really great cast, I think. So the color, like the color of the movie and stuff like that, it does feel dated, but the storyline is really entertaining, and it is interesting to go back and watch the original because a lot of things in the second movie are like callbacks to the first one. So yeah, highly recommend both. Top Gun Maverick is 30 years later. And you have Pete Mitchell is where he belongs, pushing the envelope as a courageous test pilot and dodging the advancement in rank that would ground him. So he gets selected to be an instructor for these other pilots that are going to do this dangerous mission, and I absolutely loved it. I think both movies have great casts. I think both movies have really awesome soundtracks, and I would highly recommend both of those and Black Phone. All right, moving on. I watched some 90s kind of movies because I was doing an event in a book club I was a part of. So the first one I watched is The Net. This is a rewatch for me. It has Sandra Bullock in it, one of my all-time favorite actresses. She is a computer programmer, and she stumbles upon this conspiracy, and it ends up like putting her life and the life of others in danger, and she's trying to figure out like who's behind it, and her friend gets killed or kidnapped or something, and she's trying to find that person, find who's responsible, and kind of like bring all of this stuff to light. Definitely recommend watching it. Just know it was made in the 90s. My Girl, Netflix, another one I would highly recommend you watch. I watched this several times when, you know, like a long time ago, and then I recently rewatched it for the first time in like years, and I loved it just as much now as I did then. It's about a young girl on the threshold of becoming a teenager, and she makes friends with this like unlikely person, and it's just like a coming of age tale, and it's just so sweet and so wholesome and so sad. So highly recommend that. I watched that on Netflix, and then I watched the first 5 Scream movies. I have seen 1, 2, and 3 previously. I have never rewatched them, so this was my first rewatch, and I binged them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I think there's a 6 coming out next year, like in March or something like that. and it's gonna take place in New York City, and it doesn't have Sidney Prescott in it, so I don't know if I'm actually excited about that sequel or not. We shall see. I mean, I probably will just watch it just to continue in the franchise, but I think that's gonna be the movie that kills the franchise, to be completely honest. If you don't know what this story is about, or the franchise is about, the first one follows Sidney Prescott, and her mother was killed, and she's obviously very traumatized about that. And on like the year anniversary of her mom being murdered, there's a new killer out, and the killer is out to get Sid. So the killer targets Sydney and her friends, and it's a homage to the genre, the slasher films, and it's so fun. And like I said, I watched all 5, and I definitely have my favorites in the franchise so far. I ranked them all for my patrons. I highly recommend almost all of the movies, but like the one that I like the least is pretty much the most common, like, one that people don't like, but you just have to watch them all. They're all a good time. They're all a little bit ridiculous, but I don't know, they're just like classics in my opinion. I also recently watched Wedding Season on Netflix, and I really liked that. So we have 2 people that are kind of feeling pressure from their parents to get married, Asha and Ravi. And their parents like want them to get married. They're trying to set them up with people, and Asha tries to make like a deal with her parents and says, hey, okay, fine, I'll go out with this guy. And they're like, oh, you also have to go to all the weddings of the season. So these 2 characters meet up. They decide to go to all the weddings, like for all the aunties and all the different people in their families' lives, and they end up falling in love. And I just think it's so cute, and I love the main characters, like the people who play those roles, Asha and Ravi. I just love them as actors. And then the next project I'm working on as far as movies goes is I'm gonna do all of the Friday the 13th movies. I'm gonna watch all of them, and I recently checked out the first 4 movies. I don't think I've ever seen any of the movies from start to finish, like the full film, except for the one that's Jason vs. Freddy or Freddy vs. Jason, whatever, because I saw that in the theater. But I've always been interested in the series, and kind of like, I don't know, knowing the full, you know, story and stuff. In the first one, it's a group of camp counselors that are trying to set up this camp that's kind of been, I don't know, it has like a curse on it, almost like just bad things keep happening at the camp, Crystal Lake, and they're setting it up, and there's a killer on the loose, and you're trying to figure out who it is. And it was super cheesy, but like, it's a classic, you know. And I just the special effects, the acting, seeing Kevin Bacon in a Speedo, like, there's some things that my eyes just will not be able to unsee. But it's super cheesy, but it's also just like a classic, you know what I'm saying? And there was like a jump scare that like literally had me scared, and just the music and the classic like Friday the 13th like breathing thing, I guess. I don't know. It was a time. It was a time. But if you're interested, I would watch it. If you're not interested in like the series or the franchise, like just skip it, because it's pretty bad. But also like the story's good. So yeah, I would pretty much watch all of those except for maybe Friday the 13th and Inside Out, but those definitely have their audience too. Okay, moving into shows. Okay, I am still currently watching, because I think it's still got some episodes to release, but Only Murders in the Building season 2. This is just such a fun, well acted, well paced, funny mystery show about the first season. Absolutely loved it. and I just like the twists and turns that the episodes took. It's basically about these people that live in an apartment building. They were all strangers, and then they happened to meet, and then there was like a murder in their building, and they're all true crime podcast fans, so they decide to create their own true crime podcast and talk about this murder that happened in their building. And that's kind of like the whole thing of the show. So there's a new murder and they're teaming up to solve it, and I just absolutely love it. If you're looking for something like totally cozy, if you love true crime podcasts, I think you will love this show. It's 10 out of 10. I watched The Summer I Turned Pretty on Amazon Prime. Back Forth, Sun's Out, Books Out, Readathon. I was actually watching this with my patrons, or I wanted to watch this with my patrons like the full season, but I ended up just binging the entire show, and the episodes are fairly short. And I loved it. I had such a fun time with it. I was never planning on reading the books or anything like that, because it is a YA coming of age romance drama, you know, type thing. But I really liked the show. My friend Megan wanted me to read the first book so we could talk about it. So I was like, okay. And then actually you're balancing right now on books 2 and 3. So I do plan to actually read the trilogy and see what that's all about. See, the first book was very different from the show, and I'm wondering like if things that happen in the show were like in the second and third books, but I'm gonna read it, I'm gonna figure it out. But I really loved the vibes of the show. Oh, this is such a hidden gem. I don't see anybody talking about this, but it's The Bear on Hulu. This is about a young, like, fine dining chef that moves home to Chicago to take over his family's business of running this sandwich shop. And it's in bad shape. Like, the restaurant is, the staff is, the menu is, just kind of everything. But he's taking his knowledge of culinary school and fine dining and bringing it to the sandwich shop. If you have ever worked in a restaurant, from fast food to fine dining, I think you will find something to love in this show. I cannot wait for season 2. I love the acting. I love the colorization. I love just everything about it. I binged it so fast, and I wish I kind of wouldn't, because yeah, it's gonna be a while before season 2 comes out. But love that one. Again, that was The Bear. Then I watched Candy, which is also on Hulu, and it's a weird one, but I really, really like who always does everything right. She always volunteers for everything. She's always in all these like clubs and groups and church clubs and, you know, all of the things. And she just gets so sick of everybody's shit, and she just kind of snaps. The acting is absolutely amazing. If you're looking for a flashback to the 1980s, I highly recommend, because it is so spot on, and it's crazy and it's wild and it's super entertaining. Of course, I watched Stranger Things season 4. It's so hard to pick a favorite character, and it's so hard to pick a favorite season, because every single season brought something new and something like stand out about it. Mentioning Stranger Things, a bunch of my friends are hosting the Upside Down Readathon coming in September. I believe it's the first week of September. So I'm gonna have details for that down below. If you're a huge Stranger Things fan like I am, like they are, you need to check it out. I am so excited, and they have so many fun things planned for it. So Stranger Things fan, check the links down in the description box. Okay. Big Brother, I'm currently watching this. It's currently airing. It's like the 24th season, 22nd season. I don't really know. Love this show. Watch it every single summer. It's on CBS. You can also catch it on Paramount Plus. And then if you have a Paramount Plus subscription, you also get access to the live feeds, which is a lot of fun. This is the first year that I've ever had access to the live feeds. And let me tell you, when you see the little ads and they're like, they're so addictive, you can't turn them off. It's true. They're so addictive, you can't turn them off. I do think it kind of takes away a little bit of the enjoyment of the big reveals of the twists and how the house guests take the twists. And obviously you figure out some of the, like, who won head of household, who won veto and stuff like that. And since that's what the show focuses on, you kind of already know those things, but you get a lot more of their interactions with each other and kind of how they are as real people, not just who the producers are casting these people as, you know, like as characters. They always have their villains and stuff like that. They make people seem like they don't like each other, and then you see them hanging out and having a great time all week, and you're just kind of like, what? But so the live feeds are wonderful, but it kind of does spoil the show a little bit, you know. Oh guys, I watched that documentary about Woodstock 99. It's called Trainwreck Woodstock 99. And I would skip this unless you're very, very interested. It's also definitely not for like teens or younger. It's definitely an adult documentary, but it's basically about Woodstock 99 and how much of a freaking train wreck it was, how horrible it was, not only to like the entertainers, but the people that like bought a ticket and went, how unsanitary it was, how they price gouged the people, and just like how fratty it was, you know, like all the frat boys like raging against the machine kind of thing. And it was horrific to watch the documentary, but if you're interested, watch it. If you're not, I don't blame you for skipping it. And then the last thing, I really enjoyed this, but I don't think the way that the storytelling was done in it is going to be a favorite for anybody. So you might not enjoy this one, but if you like shows like I like, then you might like this one. It's called Keep Breathing. It's a limited series on Netflix. Just came out. I think it's like in the top 10 on Netflix right now. It's basically this woman that gets a plane ride from these guys because she's trying to get to like a certain location, and their plane ends up crashing in Canadian wilderness, and she's stranded all alone, without food, without shelter, and how the heck is she gonna get out of there, you know? So she's battling the elements, but it's also flashing back to just other things that are happening and have happened in her past, specifically like with her mom. I think her mom dealt with some you know, mental illness, and you're wondering if our main character has those same tendencies. Also her relationship with her father and things that happen there. Also this guy that she was involved with is involved with, you don't really know, but it's just very, very interesting. And I wasn't 1000% satisfied, but I was 100%, you know, satisfied with the way it ended, because, you know, you get the picture. But I wish they would have done a little storytelling bit different at the end, but they stuck to their theme the whole time. If you watch it, you know what I'm talking about. I would recommend it 100%, but I think it's for a specific audience. But anyway, those are the TV shows and movies that I have been watching and loving. Pretty much all the things I have really enjoyed, except for like a few things here or there that I wouldn't necessarily recommend, but I'm glad that I watched them. Anyway, that's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you're having a lovely day or night, and I'll see you guys again in another video very soon. Bye guys.